Hello and welcome again to Roots and Resilience podcast with me, Mandy.
And with me, Laura.
Thank you for coming back to us first and foremost. So, Laura, what we're going to talk about today is
Dun, dun, dun.
relationships.
We're talking about relationships.
We are not child-parent relationships because that's a whole topic all by itself. We are talking about those friendships around you, those professionals that may be involved in your world. I know I have quite a lot in my world, so this should be good. I couldn't think of a song that had professional or social worker in it, but I could just think of You've Got a Friend in Me. But that's kind of it, really. Any other suggestions, please pop them in an email. Okay, so Laura, we briefly in episode 1 spoke about something called an Ecomap. Do you want to expand on that a little bit? Because I'm not sure whether everybody has to do Ecomaps. I did as a foster carer, but I can't remember if I did as a special guardian.
As a special guardian, absolutely. Yeah. So an eco-map, it's it's very professional terminology, isn't it? Essentially, it is a diagram, a visual bit of evidence that allows professionals or the people assessing you as a foster parent and most likely as an adoptive parent, but I think we've established not as a special guardian, to have a look at who are the people around you. Who are the people that you can call on physically, practically, emotionally, therapeutically, we would hope, to be able to support you during the tough times when you're having a bad day, when there's an emergency, when you just need to get on the phone and have a big rah moment, because we know there's a lot of rah moments in being the parent of a child with trauma and with therapeutic needs. And within that support network, most people will identify lots of people that are close to them, especially at the start. It's presented as what we call an eco map, but realistically, it is a diagram that looks at who's around you that you know you can rely on, that you can trust, that have already probably said to you, we'll be on this journey with you, we'll help you. Of course, you can pick up the phone to us. And it looks lovely. And the likelihood is, again, if you're a foster parent or an adoptive parent, that your social worker at the point of assessment will be really taking a deep dive into that. One of the reasons is, of course, we don't want to see you doing it on your own. We recognise that sometimes reaching out to professionals is a bit daunting, especially if you're fairly new. If it's not something you've really done before, you might feel a bit silly. And sometimes it's just handy to be able to pick up the phone with someone you know, someone you trust, someone who gets you, and just kind of have a bit of a spill, when things are overwhelming. And on the flip side of that, when things are going really well, when you want to share the glimmers, when you want to share the celebrations, the positives, the milestones, we recognise our support networks are there for that as well. I think one of the things I've noticed in my experience is that support network at the point of approval is all singing and all dancing. It's all rainbows. It's all butterflies. Give it 6 months. Give it 6 months. Who is still there? And one of the things that I would love to see happen is when foster parents have their annual review, or when adoptive parents are kind of being supported through maybe the first 6, 9, 12 months of being adoptive parents, it's almost a bit of a reflection and maybe a rejig of that eco-map and of that support network to go, right, you said your neighbour who lives 2 doors down, you could call on them in an emergency. When you had that emergency, when Litland was very poorly and you had to go to hospital, did they answer the phone at 2 a.m? No, they did not. When you needed to have a moan to your own parents about, it's been a really tough day, and they've said, oh, well, it wasn't like that in our day, or well, this is how I did it with you, and you realise that it was not helpful, that they were not really supportive, that they didn't get it, would you still keep them? And it's not because you don't love your parents and you don't appreciate the support they offer, but is it really the support you need?
Yeah.
So really just, I guess, reflecting on Ecomaps, support networks. What do they look like at the start? What are they like 6 months on? What are they like a year? What are they like 6 years on? Do those people still exist in your life? And if they do, wonderful. My goodness, hold on to them. Keep them in your phone book.
Absolutely.
Keep them on your Christmas card list. Chuck them a box of chocolates and a pack of flowers every now and again. That's very important that we keep these people in our lives.
Yeah.
Um, but the likelihood is that very few, if any, of that support network and that eco map are still going to be there. And it's a big reality. And I think for some parents, a really big shock as to who's sticking around and what does that look like. And to a degree, I guess, mourning the loss maybe of what you thought
Yeah.
those relationships would be like, but also embracing some of the new ones that you pick up on the way, those peer relationships, the people that maybe you met at the start of your fostering or adoptive journey and thought, they're not our people. They're not our gang. And absolutely 6 months later, they are the gangiest of gangs. Like you would not leave them in a million years because those are your people.
Yeah.
So I think there's a little bit about that is just kind of acknowledging that for perhaps some of our listeners and just getting them to think about, yeah, who was on my paper? You know, whether I did it last week, whether I did it last year, whether I did it 10 years ago, who was on my paper? Would
Yeah.
they still be there now? And am I kind of okay with this?
It's a really good point you've made, actually. And from my own personal experience, we did our eco map way, way back when we first
Mm,
started our fostering experience. And I was putting all these names down of all these people. Oh, so and so would help me do a school run if I wasn't feeling very well. And so would come and sit with any child that we needed so we could have a night out. Of course, we're going to have a night out once a month. That's not a problem. But when the reality set in, I would say 75% of those people I put on my eco
mm,
map thought I was doing a brilliant thing. Oh, well done you for fostering. Oh, I could never do it. Those people. Um, but they weren't there when actually needed them to be there. I've
yeah.
had very few people who have stuck with me long enough to just
Mm,
say, I can tell you're really struggling right now. Should we just go for a coffee? You don't have to talk about anything, but do
mm,
you want to just go for a coffee? And it's
mm,
those people that I wish I had more of in my fostering experience. Um, I don't need people telling me what they would do if their daughter had stolen 4 mobile phones one morning in school. I mean, not that I've
yeah,
experienced that.
absolutely.
Oh, yes, I have. Sorry. Um,
Yeah.
I don't need somebody to be telling me that if they don't brush their teeth, then they need to have their electronics taken away from them.
Hmm.
I don't need that because I felt as if there was two there was two kind of realms I was trying to pacify, I think is the right
Hmm.
word to use. I wanted to prove, bearing in mind, I was a first-time parent and I was a first-time foster carer, and I had no idea what I was getting involved in. I felt I had to prove that I was good at what I do, and I know that that's part of my makeup and that's my problem, but
Hmm.
that's the pressure I felt. But I also had that other camp of, "You must be a good parent." So I've got to be good at my job being a foster carer and being,
Hmm.
therapeutic, but I've also got to be this really good parent, and I've got to show everybody that I'm really good. I've got to take them to every out of school activity there is going, and, I need to welcome them with open arms at the end of the school day, even though they're probably gonna spit in my face or pull my hair. Um, and it's so hard to get the right balance, and I don't know how anybody can do that without one person on their team going,
Hmm.
"Wow, do you know what? That really is tough, and I'm sorry that
Hmm.
you've had to experience that." Um, I just don't know how people could do it, Laura. I really don't.
No, it's quite baffling, isn't it? You know, one of the key indicators around, foster parents who very sadly, and I hate the language, and we will absolutely do a topic on language and terminology at some point. It's when they give notice. When they give, I mean, I hate the phrase, as I've said, it's not a job. We're not working our annual leave,
No.
all of these kind of things. That what annual leave? What annual leave,
What
Mandy?
is that?
There is no
What is
annual
that?
leave. But the notice bit is, one of the key things that foster parents talk about is, of course, lack of support, lack of understanding, and not having at least one person to be able to do that with. Yeah.
What I found when I first started fostering was we had a buddy system. So before I went through panel, before I had my little whirlwind come through the door, I was actually buddied up with somebody who was already experienced foster carer, and I went round to their house and I had coffee. But that buddy system needed to be more ongoing. And it's a bit like when you have your first day at school,
Yeah.
and you have a little buddy system, and someone's there to say, "You're okay. If you get it wrong, the world's not going to come to an end."
Mm.
And actually, that's what I needed at that time. And I think that that's what's really missing in this whole set up industry world that we work in. It's like, well, we put on a support group meeting for you every month, and you can make your own friends. But when I was going to those support groups, can I share a story with you? I
Please.
went to a support group once, and it's room full, 25 foster carers. And this guy said, "Oh, I've had a really hard week. I just can't get my youngest to put her shoes on in the morning. I just can't do it. And I'm trying everything, and every day it's a massive problem, and it's really stressing me out." And I went, "Yeah, yeah, well, I've had a bad week too." Mine ran upstairs, trashed her bedroom, blocked her bedroom door with her bed, and then freaked out because she couldn't get out, so she tried to jump out the window. And the silence in the room
Sure.
was so isolating. I actually
Mm.
thought, I can't really talk about what's
Sure.
going on in my life. And that's
Sure.
not belittling what this other man was feeling and going through, because
No, no,
obviously for
no.
him, it was a really big thing. But I think this is the problem when you get those group meetings. It's either well, you think that's bad. Wait till I tell you what's happened for me
Sure.
this week.
Sure. There's
Or,
almost a one-upmanship, isn't there?
yeah,
Oh,
a
your
little
kid did this.
bit.
Well, I see your kid and I raise you my kid.
Yeah,
You
yeah, yeah,
know,
yeah,
click
absolutely.
they're in.
Oh,
Yeah,
you've got one detention. Well, I got three detentions and an isolation.
absolutely.
Mm. And
Absolutely.
I'm just not into that. Or
Mm, mm.
the reaction is a little bit like how I reacted, which was, "I don't think I fit in here, so I'm just gonna
Yeah,
take a little step back." But what
yeah.
happened with that was the people I should have been engaging with, the people who should have been able to go, "Wow, that's tough,"
Mm,
I couldn't engage with them. So I
mm.
felt even more isolated and even more
Sure,
lonely.
sure.
It it's such a yeah, it's such a tricky, and other people may have had really positive experiences, and it might have been really, really good. But I think it's really difficult to try and think of what the key solution is.
Mm. And that was gonna be my next question is kind of what should that look like? And I guess it's not for you or I to really answer here, but, be thinking about what we have seen does or doesn't work over time. I'm gonna actually see your story, Mandy, and I'm gonna raise you
I've
one
gone,
of my own a little bit. And it's I
"Come on."
guess it's one of my experiences as a supervising social worker, as I was for quite some time for a local authority. And I remember having a really good long term, what I felt, and I would hope that she would say the same, working relationship with a single foster parent who parented some really complex children. Now, of course, I recognise that all children with trauma are complex.
Mhm,
I mean, she loved a challenge, and she rose to a challenge a lot. And unfortunately, there was an allegation made against her. It was quite a serious allegation.
mhm,
Now, most people listening to our podcast will understand that an allegation from a child against a foster parent has to be dealt with in a very specific way. There are policies and procedures to follow.
yeah,
We tap into things like the legal frameworks, to manage that. Um, and that at the time, I mean, obviously there was lots of meetings, there was lots of reports to be written, there was lots of risk versus strength and all of these kind of things as you would expect. But one of the things at the time is I was kind of told to do the bare minimum with her. To do the bare
yeah,
minimum. And it felt incredibly awkward. And I will hold my hands up and say, at the time, I did not feel confident enough to be able to go, that's not okay. I
yeah,
don't like this. I have worked so closely with her for such a long time. And in the moment, I did not I did not advocate for myself in my role and I did not advocate for myself with her. And I remember then we were kind of coming to a conclusion as to what was going to be happening next. And I went in and I did my session with her. And the first thing she said to me was, I've really missed seeing you.
yeah,
Um, and it hit me harder than I kind of realized because as much as it's a professional relationship, you do engage with people. And I was always very mindful of professional boundaries, and I didn't take it in a way outside of that, but she
Yeah.
missed the support that I gave her consistently for such a long time. And I kind of said, "Oh, I'm really sorry to hear that. It has been a while since we've been able to kind of talk in this way." And all she said was, "This has been really hard for me, and I really needed you because you get me."
Yeah.
And it hit, honestly, but it hit me like a bus of, what on earth have I been doing for these last X amount of weeks? Why was I not the social worker I knew I could be? Why was I allowing the system to put that barrier up there?
Yeah.
And it really made me reflect on, and I had a really interesting conversation with a few managers and leaders after this, and they were like, "Oh, but it's just what happens. You can't let her emotions guide you in that way." And I was like, "I really don't think it's about emotions. I think it's about her recognizing a gap." And actually, no, let me retract that a little bit. Of course it's about emotion. Of course it is, because she did feel emotion about the fact that things had changed in that support that she needed.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, it's not about emotions. I guess I didn't mean it in that way, but it wasn't about their view of what her emotions were, and the impact it had
Sure.
on me. It was about the fact that my role was her supervising social worker, and during probably the most difficult part of her fostering career, she did not have me there.
And that just kind of sums up another layer, you know.
Mm,
If I can give you an example from the other side, you
mm,
know, sometimes the only people I will talk to is professionals because
mm,
I'm so, when I'm really in that dark, dark place where everything is just such a struggle, it's a struggle to get out of bed in the morning. And like you said, we'll talk about compassion fatigue and
yeah,
blocked care and how our emotions are impacted by living this lifestyle that I live further down the
mm,
line. But
mm,
my supporting social worker, I need that person. I need that person to come along and say to me, this isn't about you. You're okay. This
yeah,
is how the
yeah,
system works.
yeah,
And especially in light when you have an allegation made against you and then you don't have any professional support, it's
mm,
kind of giving you the narrative of, well, of course you're to blame. Of course you've done the wrong thing. Of course you're no good. And all that does to me is build up that lack of confidence that I was experiencing anyway, because let's be honest, a child makes an allegation when they are in a difficult place. A child makes an allegation when they are trying to communicate something. This isn't
mm,
actually a reflection on my work, on my
yeah,
abilities to do anything. Um,
mm.
but everyone then takes this, it's like being in a fart, being in a lift and dropping a really smelly fart. Everyone takes a step back. But that's true though,
Another
isn't it?
cracking analogy that I was not expecting you to drop at this
Boom.
point, but absolutely get it. Yeah,
Welcome to Rich
absolutely get it.
Resilience. Um,
Absolutely.
uh, it is though. It's like it is that feeling of everybody is now judging you. They're taking a step
Mhm,
back, and they
mhm.
really don't want to, put themselves in a position where they're going to be judged. But it's okay for the foster carer to be judged, or the parent to be judged, or the
Yeah.
adopter to be judged, because that's what
Mhm.
they've signed up for. And
Mm.
I want to say it's not what we bloody well signed up for. We signed up to actually put our worlds on hold a lot of the time so that we can hold a young person who's had really negative life experiences so far. What we need is we need that team around us.
Yeah.
My relationship with my supporting, supervising social work, I should say supervising, not supporting. Um, I've had many in all my years, and I know that that's not unusual.
Not at all.
Foster carers can have several in a year. Um, I think I see a big, big difference between being a foster carer and being a special guardian. So when the last time I had any professional input with my special guardianship was the day we walked out of court in 2017. I have not seen or spoken to a social worker since then.
Well,
Um, Luckily, I'm pulling it together and he's a really good kid and we're kind of fumbling along this line and everything is okay. But I know that that's not always the case.
mhm.
As a foster carer, I have had many supervising social workers, and some of them have been an absolute lifeline for me, and they have noticed when I seem quite down, or they've noticed that I'm quite quiet, or they get to know me as a person. And I've had others that sit behind a laptop during supervision, and they sit there for the hour, they type their notes up, they leave the house, and I don't see them again for another month. What do you think, in your professional, emotionally neutral point of view, Miss Taylor, what do you think makes a really good supervising social worker? What should we be looking for as foster carers in their social workers?
I mean, it's a great question, and as I've made many mistakes in hopefully becoming eventually what was a good supervising social worker. I think the things that have worked for me have been a little bit more around some of the personal touches. So things like if they've got birth children, remembering their birth children's name and asking how they are.
Yep. Yeah.
Really little things. Walking in, morning, how are you? How are little Susie and little Johnny today? I'm sure their kids are not called Susie and Johnny. They were the first names that popped into my head. How are they? How's school? Gone back all right after Christmas? Everyone well? How did they do in that football match at the weekend? They won. That's amazing. You must have been so proud. Sometimes just those introductions of just coming into the house. Oh, is the kettle on? I'd love a brew.
Yep.
And just recognizing that you do hold a certain position, but being human in that position. I think not just being a lanyard wearing, note taking, tick boxing robot,
Mhm.
social work robot, avoiding those bits.
Yeah.
Avoiding those bits, accepting a cup of tea. I've known people that have gone and gone, oh, no, it's really unprofessional to accept a cup of tea from someone. If I've driven for an hour to get to your house, you can bet your bottom dollar I'm gasping for a brew. And yes, I'm absolutely having one. So I think for me, there's a little bit about the humanistic bit before you've even got the notebook out, because the
Mhm.
likelihood is, and not in every situation, but the likelihood is that foster parent recognizes there's a tick box element to this, but also needs to have a raw moment
Yep.
about something. And I think those humanistic bits give you that opportunity to go, I'm quite safe. I'm pretty safe here to have my raw moment. Let's get the other bits done. Or do you know what? Maybe I need to start with my raw, and that's okay. So I think there's a little bit about being human. Um, One of the things, and I think you just kind of touched on it as well, Mandy, is not having that laptop between you. Again, I've known people bring their laptop and they're sat behind their screen
Yep.
and you can just see the top of their eyes.
Yep.
And then again, it makes them quite robotic. They are hidden behind the top of a laptop screen and they're typing away. And you know that they're just filling in the boxes because they don't want to have to go back and do it later.
Yep.
The only time I think I've ever taken a laptop to a foster parent's house was to share some things online together, but we were sat next to each other and
Yeah.
it was very brief. So I think, yeah, of course, you're going to have to take notes. You have to remember dates of things. You have to
Sure.
remember key information. With the best will in the world, most of us are not going to be able to remember an hour and a half's conversation to go back and type it up accurately. So I think, but scribbly notes, come up with your own version, but also be honest about the fact that can I just pause you there? I'm just taking the
Yeah.
notes and I want to be accurate for you and for little such and such.
And I
So
would
I
love
think
that,
there's that
actually.
bit.
I think that it's getting that compromise, isn't it? I mean, my I'm going to talk about her now. My social worker I have now, she's lovely, and she comes in, and if I don't know, busy finishing off something, she'll put the kettle on. We'll have a brew, and she will bring a laptop. But what I really like about her is she's like, I just need to take some notes.
Mhm.
And when we have a conversation, she will close the lid, or like, for people who are listening, this isn't making any sense because I'm doing arm movements. I'm really sorry. Um, like closes the laptop lid, not completely, but so
Mhm.
that the work can.
Over a little bit. Over a little bit.
But
Yeah.
it's not a barrier between us. And then she'd be like, okay, so tell me how that's made you feel, or tell me a little bit more about that. What's been going on? Do you know what started it? And we will have that connection, that conversation. And once I've shared some information with her, then she'll put the laptop screen back up. I just want to make a note of that because that's really, really important. And then she'll type a note
Mhm,
again. I'm not anti laptops. What
mm,
I'm
mm,
anti is, like you said, that I'm here, I'm going to do supervision, I'm ticking the boxes, how much
mhm,
pocket
mhm.
money have they got, what after school clubs have they done? And it's all
Sure.
very monotone and it's quite dispassionate. And I'm quite a passionate, emotional person, so I
Mm,
do use my
mm,
hands a lot, really sorry, listeners. I do get really, expressive about what's going on, and I want somebody to sit there and do eye contact with me.
mm, mm.
I want them to know how I'm feeling, and I want to know that they're actually taking on board what I'm saying to them.
Yeah,
It's such an
yeah.
important, tiny little thing that
Mhm.
can make the world of difference to that whole interaction.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I agree. And I think one of the things for me is, again, totally hold my hand up to the things that I know I didn't get quite right. In my, I guess, my more infant stages of being a supervising social worker, and aiming to be the supporting social worker as well. There's again language terminology. We're going to come onto this in other episodes, but when I became more trauma informed, and when well, I think most of our listeners will know the Brené Brown video, the one on empathy versus sympathy.
Oh my God, I
You and
love
I use
that.
it all the time. It's 3 minutes of just pure gold dust for
Yep.
me in terms of being empathic. And when I realised that I was an at leaster, I could
Oh,
at
yeah, yeah.
least my foster parents that I supported, I called them mine. I did think of them as mine. I was a little bit possessive at times, in a nice way. When I realized how much I at least did them and how frustrating and how much they must have wanted to probably tip that cup of tea over me, understandably, the one they've just
Yeah.
very kindly made for me. Um, yeah, I was really frustrated with myself, and I think once I realized that wasn't helpful, and I stopped doing it, I definitely saw a shift in the majority of the relationships that I had, and that's the key topic today was those relationships. And then thinking about myself within their current Ecomap, their current support network, was if I stop at leasting them, if I take the time to listen, if I check in with the bit of them that isn't fostering, like their
Mm.
son's football tournament this weekend, like how the dog got on at the vets, like the fact that they've planted their spring bulbs and don't they look lovely in that pot by the front door.
Yep.
Oh, the car got through the MOT. Fantastic. You must be really pleased. That would be a real pain in the bum if that hadn't have happened.
For
All of
sure.
these kind of little, almost, I guess it's almost small talk, but it's important small talk.
It's
Those little bits.
relationship building, isn't it?
It is. It's relationships. It's relationships. Someone remembering that my son had a football tournament at the weekend that I only see once a month would really make my day when I'm
And
stressed and tired.
and I
So I
think
think doing those bits is there, but being empathic and not sympathetic and not at leasting them was a real shift for me.
it's a really important point. Sorry to try and interrupt you, but that whole relationship building, connecting, you know, as a therapeutic parent, that's constantly what I'm trying to do with my
Mm,
children, trying to connect with them. I'm giving it my all. I am, I can see you've had a bad day when they've come in and they've thrown their bag at my head or whatever it is.
mm,
Um,
mm,
I'm trying to keep that connection there all the time. That means when I'm going through rough patches, I don't have time to try and build a connection with you, Miss
mm.
Social Worker. I'm really sorry.
Absolutely.
You might be the loveliest person in the whole wide world. I do not have the energy for that. You are going to have to help me help you.
Mhm,
So if you
mhm.
want to know what things are like right now, I'm going to tell you, but I'm not going to flower it. I'm not going to make it look all pretty because this is how it really is. Now, I feel quite comfortable being like that. And people, maybe I'm a bit Marmite. People like me or don't like me. I'm not sure. But I'm quite comfortable with not being brash, but being that open and honest with somebody. But I know me as a first time foster carer, I wouldn't let anybody know what things were really like. I wouldn't let
Mm,
anybody know how bad things really were. I needed that professional to come in to have that supervision with me and be able to read through the lines. Do you know what I mean?
yeah,
I
yeah.
needed somebody to say, you look tired. Are you looking after yourself?
Mhm. Mhm.
Tell me, what have you got a date night planned with your husband? What are you gonna do? Where are you gonna go? The weather's getting better. Are you gonna go for a walk somewhere? Maybe that fresh and we that's what I needed. I didn't need somebody to tell me, when was I going to have respite? Oh, shivers down my spine. Or
Gorgeous word.
um, what the out of school activities were and why didn't we go to the last one. I didn't need to. I didn't need that conversation. I needed someone a little bit like Inside Out when Sad
Mhm.
sits with the hippo elephant thingy,
Yeah, yeah,
um,
yeah,
and she just says, "Wow, that's really hard right now, and I can see you're struggling. I'm just going to sit right here." That's what I needed.
yeah.
And how how can we get people to advocate what they need when they're in crisis? As a social worker, what could I say to you if you were my new social worker and
Mm.
we'd had a conversation on the phone and you'd been given notes about my family and my family set up before you came and did your first supervision with me or your first visit with me? How can I advocate what I need without being really brash and
Mm.
worrying about how you are going to perceive my needs?
I think that's an amazing question, and I kind of been in this position before quite some time ago. I started working with a foster parent who had um, recently had a child leave her care. It was a really difficult decision, but it was the right decision overall, for various reasons. But it left her relationship with the service feeling quite fractured from her point of view, and I think she was very, very worried about that perception. And I, again, whether I got this particularly right or wrong at the time, I think it was about the conversations we had initially were never about children.
Mm,
There was a reflection on how hard it had been, this loss of this relationship, but it was about her, it was about where she was in life, not just in fostering. And
yeah.
I think, again, when we think about that relationship building, it was just time. And I know there will be social workers listening to this now going, come on, Laura, you know we're strapped for time, you know we work crazy hours, you know we've got paperwork coming out of our ears. Yes, I 100% know. But if you're going to go and do that supervision and you know it's 60 minutes, 90 minutes, maybe 2 hours, make the best you can with that time. You
Yeah.
know, you're going to be there anyway. Let's do it in the best possible way. So I think it is about investing in the person as much as possible. And yes, of course, you will have your tick box stuff. That's never going to go away. We
No.
can't diminish that. I would love in this podcast to be able to go, do you know what? Let's make a petition to the government and scrap all this. But it will never happen because it's the most heavily, regulated area of children's services. Of course it is, and for all the right reasons. But actually, you can still kind of weave that stuff in,
Yeah.
But you can weave all those bits in, or you can say, okay, I'm going to max out my 90 minutes here, or however long you've got allocated, and right up until the last minute, we are going to talk about you. We are going to
Mm,
talk about you. And I think there's that little bit there, and is about, I guess, kind of setting the expectations quite early on about this is how I work, this is how you work. What are we going to do to gel that? What do you need from me? Because this is what
yeah.
I'm going to offer you, but is it what you need from me? Do you need more? Do you need less? And then vice versa. Because actually, as a social worker, I need stuff from you as a foster parent. I recognize everything you're doing, but I still kind of need something from you in this relationship, even if it's just the 1% you've got left that day.
Yeah. Yeah.
And if I need to be the one that walks in and makes the tea, and Mandy, I've done this umpteen times, I will walk in and go, crikey, we need to get the kettle on, don't we?
Yeah.
You sit
Yeah.
down. I know where it is. I'm quite at home in the kitchen with a
Yeah.
kettle and a tea bag. I'm fine. And I have done this umpteen times in umpteen people's houses. You sit down, I'll put the kettle on.
And
Let the dog out for a wee. Do what the dog needs. We'll sit down.
that's right.
We'll
And
sit down.
when you're fostering, you can have that supervising social worker interaction. And
Mm,
I'd like to think I've built up some really positive relationships with social
mm,
workers that I've worked with. I'm just thinking from my, if I was to put my special guardianship hat on, as a special guardian, like I say, I've had no professional support since we left court. But if I was to reach out for that professional support, that means that actually things are going really badly. They're really hard. I need
Mm,
help. I'm reaching out.
mm,
And I think this happens a lot with adoptive parents as well. Okay, we know we're heading into a really, really dark, dark tunnel right now, and I need some help. I need somebody to come in and guide me to the light at the end because I can't see it at the moment.
mhm.
What I would like to say to social workers is take that into consideration. I know we previously we spoke about, being able to see the world through the child's eyes and understanding why they won't do something because it's they can't do something. But I think that sometimes professionals are so focused on what their remit is and what their boxes are that they need to tick that we've talked about, that
Mhm, mhm.
they lose sight of how hard parents are finding things right now.
Yeah.
For an adopted parent to make that call to get social workers involved, that's a huge leap that they've made because they're
Yeah.
asking you for help. They're not just wanting to cause you to have more paperwork or waste your time or, oh, he just won't tie his shoelaces properly. These are big things. And these big things have been going on for a long time. That's why they've reached out for you.
Mhm.
So I would really like social workers to just take a minute and try and understand things from that
Yeah.
parent's point of view.
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. And I almost wonder if some social workers are caught up in a vibe, in an attitude, an atmosphere. I'm not quite sure what word I want to use. Um, of well, they knew what they signed up for. Of course, it was going to be hard. No one ever said this was going to be easy. They've had the training.
And for that social
All of that, I
worker,
think there's an element of that, and I hate
I would
that.
like I would
Um,
like to invite them to come and live in my house for a weekend with my 3 children that I have here at the moment and my dog who is snoring in the background. I'm so sorry if you can hear that. Um, uh, and to walk a day in my shoes, really, you know? And I I'm not saying that my experience is how everybody feels. We all of us are unique. All of our children are unique. Therefore, our situations are going to be unique. So we're going to have that flexibility. We need to have that outside of the box thinking. We're going to have to try different approaches. But when
yeah.
I'm in crisis, I don't need a social worker knocking on my door telling me all the things that I'm doing wrong. I need a social worker to try and connect with me. And if they come
Mhm,
round one day and I'm like, here's your tea, there's the door, you know what to do, they're not doing what they need to do. So when they come back again, apologize for that. Say, "I'm
mm,
really sorry, it didn't
mm,
work last
mm.
time I came round." We need to have that level of understanding within our community. Because if we can't get it in our community, where can we get it from?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, luckily this podcast exists now, so they can get something here. But yes, I take your point. I
There
take your point.
are just to counterbalance, there are some fantastic social workers, and I have met many, and I've had the privilege of working with some outstanding social workers.
Yeah,
Um,
same.
so we're not saying that all social workers should be shot at dawn, just the ones that aren't very good. Maybe I'm a bit harsh, but there we go.
Well, we keep it real here. We keep it real. Absolutely. So, Mandy, I'm just thinking about kind of bringing this topic back to the beginning. So, relationships is what we were talking about.
Yeah,
Um, we were talking about kind of the support, the fact that who said that they were supporting at the start might not be supporting anymore,
yeah.
and kind of the evolution of those support networks. But thinking about kind of what you've taken away from our points today, what will you be taking away and thinking about relationships, support networks, professionals
Um,
after today?
I think there are many different ways that people can get support. There's obviously social media is a huge part of our lives. So
Mm,
there are pages on Facebook, other social media platforms are available. But there are foster carer pages, there's special guardian pages, there's kinship pages, there's therapeutic parenting pages. We know all of this. But what I feel tends to happen is the keyboard warriors have their freedom to respond in a not very empathic way sometimes.
mm,
So I
mm,
think it's about reflecting on what works for me. And Have I got a massive list of friends? No, I haven't. I haven't got a I'm going to show my age, Rolodex full of people that I could call when I need them. Yes, I really am that old. Um, but I do have friends that really understand me and really get me. And those are the friends that I turn to when I need
Mhm.
just to sit with somebody. You know, they don't have to ask me all the ins and outs. I don't want to talk about all of the details of what's going on in my world right now. But I will go and have a coffee. You know, I will go for a walk with them. I will sit down with them. I will have a telephone conversation with them. Those are the really important people in my world. And they're the people that I'm going to do everything I can to try and keep in my world. Does that
Absolutely.
sort of make sense?
Absolutely.
Good.
Absolutely. And I do miss a Rolodex, not gonna lie. I just like the sound. It was a
Oh,
sensory thing for me.
it would be a
Yeah.
power and control thing for me because it meant that I could have then spend time organizing and color coordinating it. I would love that.
Let's not go there. Let's not go there.
Secondary trauma. I think I mentioned it before. Yeah. Right. No judgment.
Absolutely.
Remember.
It's there. It's there. I think the bit for me from today is about balance. I think as a social worker, I mentioned that supervising social workers are still under children and families. It is always about the children. Whether you're in a local authority, whether you're in an agency, whatever that capacity looks like, whoever pays your wages, let's be
Mhm.
honest, that's kind of where it is. There is about the balance between, of course, the needs of the child and the statutory tick box stuff that we need to know is there, but also recognizing that that child doesn't get those boxes ticked, or certainly not in the best possible way, if we're not supporting that adult. And
Mm.
that's the relationship bit. And I think for me, as I've said, there's definitely times when I've not done that in the best of my capacity and then learnt and then put what I've learnt into practice. And I would hope that anybody listening today is thinking about how they can advocate for themselves within that relationship, or if you're professionals, thinking about where that balance might be. And something as simple as a warm smile,
Mm.
offering to put the kettle on, checking in about the car MOT or the dog's vet appointment, or the football match
Yeah.
that might even have got rained off given the current weather.
Yeah. Yeah. Sure.
Anything that just makes you a human being.
Yes.
And yeah, like you said, we're not anti-laptops, but if we really don't need them, let's keep them in the car or back at the office. So yeah,
Yeah.
for me, it's the balance. It's the balance. Yeah.
I think as well, supportive friendships are those friends who are just going to accept you for who you are.
Mm,
And those friends that I do have, those friends that I'll go for coffee with, I don't feel the pressure. And if I don't feel up, if I'm really, really in a bad way and I'm like, no, I just can't face seeing anybody today, I can
mhm,
message them, I can phone them and just go, can we rain check? And there's no judgment, there's no pressure. They just allow me to be the whole Marmite me that I am. Um, and that's what really does help see it through. Professionals
mhm.
have their place. And if we can have those positive professional working relationships, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
But, you know, who is your key person that you would go to? I've got a key person that I go to, and she's just when I've had a really bad day, and I'm like, that's it. I'm going to give it all up. I'm going to go and stack some shelves in Tesco's because that's all I'm worth. She just is like, yeah, okay, we can do the application form together. That's all right. Because she knows that in a couple of days, I'm going to get over this and then
Mhm,
we can actually talk about what's going on.
mhm,
That to
mhm.
me is what a good friend is.
Yeah. Yeah. And also, Mandy, if things ever get to that point, you would look awesome in that navy uniform. Not
I
that we ever want to
am,
see you in it, but
I'm a
you would rock
beast.
it.
I'm a beast with a scanner. What can I say?
Absolutely. There we go. It's a
Absolutely.
skill set that is not talked about often enough.
So really closing today's episode, I just want to say, no matter what your personal situation is, whether you're in the foster care system and you have lots of professional visits, or whether you're a special guardian and you hardly ever have a professional visit. It's about relationship building. There are lots of places where you can get some peer support if you need to. There are regional clubs or groups that meet that will offer support. The COECT, I think, offer an invaluable service with
Yeah.
therapeutic parenting meetups, or that kind of idea of you not doing this on your own. Therapeutic parenting and parenting children who have experienced trauma is bloody hard. So let's take the support that's positive, build those relationships that work, and help each other through. I think that's all I need to say, really.
Absolutely, and I'm not sure I can add anything to that.
So I hope this has helped everybody. If you do need any extra help and support, then please do reach out. Our email address is rootsresilience@outlook.com. If you've got any questions, please share them with us. If you're liking the content and the way that we talk about things, please like, subscribe, or follow, depending on the platform that you're listening to this on. And we just looking forward to having episode 3. We're going to try and answer
Absolutely.
questions next time, isn't that right, Laura?
Definitely, definitely. So yeah, pop your questions over to us. Either add them into the comments that you can do on whatever platform you're listening to, or do use the email address rootsresilience@outlook.com. Obviously, it will all be kept confidential, but we would love to answer some questions. We would love to keep this as interactive with you as possible. Yeah, and I'm looking forward to reading them and kind of thrashing them out together.
As we build a positive relationship with you guys, then I would like to invite you to raise some topics. Let us know. What do you want us to talk about? Is there
Brilliant.
something that you think, actually, this is a really hot topic and it needs to be discussed? Because that's what we're here to do. We're here to talk about stuff that can hopefully help you guys as well. Okay?
We love a hot topic. We love a hot
Love
topic.
it.
We can't lie. We love it.
Love it. And if we can do a hot topic in a pub, it's even better. But we'll stick to this for now.
For
Okay.
now.
All right. Everyone take care. Thank you so much for listening, and we'll speak to you again soon.
Thanks, guys. Take care. Bye.
Cheers. Bye.